Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another presentation of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. This is round number 2 of the playoff races here. We're coming off last week's win by Keith Bradley, number 29, the animal getting that golden ticket into the next round. My name is William Tiller here tonight. Of course, I am joined by Adam Flieger, but we got a newbie in the booth here tonight, Mr. Jacob Reeves. Jacob, how you doing here tonight, man?
I'm doing good, Will. How you doing tonight?
Oh man, we're in South Beach. It's a little bit further away from South Beach, but feeling good here in round number 2 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. You got a little audition there Monday night in the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. You'll see some of the same names here tonight, but not the same contenders at the top of that board that we saw last year where we had Adam Newbert win that championship. He has to try to beat out Keith Bradley here in this series.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do what he can. And from what I've heard about Keith Bradley, I mean, he won last week and locked himself into the next round. So that's a big deal for Keith Bradley. Here's the big here's the big thing about this is we're looking at the leaderboard. Keith Bradley is going for it here at Homestead, and he's on the pole, so he's starting right where he left off from last week.
Pole position. As right now we're taking a look, qualifying has wrapped up, and you just hit the nail on the head there, Jacob. Keith Bradley will start in that pole position. Looking at second, we have Joey Doucette in that 16 machine. Third's Ashley Dawson in that 88. Fourth's going to be the 82 of Adam Newton. Fifth is going to be Justin Lumpkin in that 18. Sixth position is going to be the 48 of Robbie Richards. Seventh is going to be the 53 of CJ Fonda. Eighth is going to be 23 of Stephen Thomas. Ninth is going to be the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, and rounding out our top 10 is the 99 of Devin Painter.
Yep, and then coming or starting 11th, you're going to have Ed Osborne in the 42 truck. James D. Morris going to be on the outside of him, starting in 12th. You got Dane Hagan in 13th. Adam Newbert, that's another guy that we talked about just a second ago. Adam Newbert being in the champion on Monday nights. He's going to be rolling off 15th right here. Zach Hardwick in 16th. Taylor Peacock, there's another guy that we talked about as well. He's going to be a real fast one as well. He's going to be in 16th. I'm sorry, Zach Hardwick in 15th. And then, as you see on your screen, here's the list of the rest of the guys that's in the top 20.
Yeah, and then a few other guys here outside of the top 20. It's a big field here tonight. Of course, we have Derek Kilgore there in 21st, Huck Whittington 22nd, Jeff Sickles there in 23rd, Raul Meza 24th, Chris Blanchard, Trey Pitts, Brendan Bullock, and Cody Knott rounds out our 28 truck field here tonight. Big field here in this round number 2 of the playoffs. And one of the names I want to mention here, Jacob, before we get this green flag, is Taylor Peacock in that 81. Ran top 5 all race long last weekend. Top 3, almost got that golden ticket there at the end. I really feel like the momentum's building underneath these Goodyear Eagles.
Yeah, I believe it is. It's just the way you said right there, Will. And I've heard a lot of good things about Taylor Peacock. I know this might be my first race announcing with you on Friday nights, but I've heard a lot of good things about Taylor Peacock, especially Monday night from when we was talking about it in the broadcast. So, you know, granted, he's going to be back there in about 16th, but I'd watch out for Taylor Peacock. He might be driving up through the field here pretty soon and try to get up there and try to get some stage points and possibly try to make it into the next round.
Yeah, unfortunately got some stage points last week at Richmond, but finished that race just above Adam Newbert down in the 21st position, about 9 laps down for that 81 machine. I believe he was caught up in a late race accident that took out a lot of those contenders there at the end. And Keith Bradley really loved to see that out of his rear view, a lot of those contenders get taken out, but Keith Bradley is a good driver. Nonetheless, he'll start on the pole here tonight, and looks like things are going to get started here momentarily. We're still cooling it down here, Jacob, awaiting this green flag. Looks like the pace lights are off.
Yeah, the pace lights are off, and these guys are ready to get it going. And Keith Bradley already locked in. He wants to try to possibly deny somebody one of the key contenders that could challenge him for the championship or try to knock them out in this first round. So watch out for Keith Bradley. He's not just going to pull over and let these guys go. He wants to try to race, and he wants to try to get the win, and plus get those extra playoff points that will help him to get into the next round.
Yeah, here we await the pace truck here around 3 and 4. The lights are off. The trucks are ready. So are we up here in the Nazareth 360 Racing Network broadcast booth. We're going to come off of 4 right here to the drop of the green flag. And round 2 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series is going to kick off here as the Pultz Poppers 200 is now underway as Keith Bradley takes us down. It's corner number 1.
Yep, Keith Bradley going to be right on the bottom. Joey Doucette. Big stack up. Looks like it in the back. Got a wreck as well. Looks like it's Dane Shepard. He spun out. And another guy with him. Green flag. No caution yet, Will. They're still rolling.
Still
they're
rocking
going
and rolling.
around.
Yeah,
they're
that's Dana
still
Shepard
rolling.
there in the 45. Raul Meza, unfortunately, there in 37. And the caution lights are now flashing at Homestead here. We're under yellow here, 1 lap in the books.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a late caution right there, Will. I mean, tough to really see what exactly happened. Looked like it was just a normal stack up. And with this track, as beat up as it is, I know that we've talked about it before. This track is real beat up and wore out. So it's not real, it's common. It's not something that you would just rarely see for somebody to spin the tires. We're going to look at it right here and just kind of see what happens. And, wow, it looks like he just missed a shift is what it looked like to me. And just got ran into the back.
Attest to that, Jacob. I don't have much experience on the iRacing simulator, but I gotta say, restarts and lining back up on a restart. This was the drop of the green flag here. It's gonna be one of the most difficult aspects of the race. You gotta make sure you got that gear sequence just right. You gotta make sure that you got the same pace as the guy in front of you, the guy behind you, so you don't get rear-ended. I gotta say, you can go around the corners, you can work the draft, but those restarts, man, one of the most difficult aspects of all racing.
Yeah, very, very difficult, especially in these trucks. Next gen cars, they're more sequential, but these right here, these trucks, more or less like your typical 5-speed or 4-speed or 6-speed, however you want. These trucks having 4 gears. So honestly, from what it looks like, Dana Shepard probably had it in second when he started off, and then went to third. And then when he tried to go back to fourth, it looked like he just slid it right back into second and he just missed a gear. I mean, it's happened to the best of us. It's happened to me before as well. So, I mean, that's what it looked like to me is just he went from second to third, and then when he tried to drop it down into fourth, looks like he accidentally dropped it back into second because when you're shifting these gears as fast as you can and you got it in third and you try to pull it down in fourth, you're not really looking at what you're shifting. You're still looking ahead to see, if anything's happening in front of you. And it just takes that little bit to pull it over to the left and drop it straight into second. And I think that's exactly what just happened right there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for both drivers there, Dan Shepard in the 45 and Raul Meza there in the 37, as there are no fast repairs here in the Nazareth Series. What that means, folks, is that any damage that you occur on the racetrack, you can't get it fixed fast. And for both those drivers there, that might be the end of their race, depending on what kind of damage is sustained. Maybe the 37 of Raul Meza might be able to scrape it out there, Jacob, but for Dan Shepard, might be the end of the road.
I don't know about that, honestly, Will. I mean, granted, he's going to have a little bit of damage that's going to be on the back of his car. Granted, he got nailed pretty hard in the back end of the car, but as long as he doesn't, as long as he doesn't mess up the front of the car. As you see him right now, he's coming off of pit road.
He's coming off.
He's going to be able to beat that pace car coming off. So as long as his front end is fine, he's not going to be down on any horsepower.
And it's a good thing this wreck happened on lap 1, so a long way to go. So the 45 could still be in the mix.
Yeah, he could definitely be in be in the mix. I mean, if you're gonna have an instance like this, have it on lap 1, have it on lap 5, lap 10 of a 140 lap race. Don't have it on like 130 and just blow away, a whole race up for just that one instance. So he still should be all right. Looks like he's got a little bit of rear end damage. I don't think he's got his or the front end. I think his front end, actually, from what it looks very, very clean. So as long as he's not down on any horsepower, he should still be able to stay with everybody and be able to still salvage out of this.
Yeah, as the pace lights are still on here as we come off of 4 here at Homestead. Perfect opportunity to go over the format of tonight's race. So stage number 1 that we're in right now will end on lap 30, and then here in stage 2 we'll go to lap 65. So we're looking at around 35 laps there in between stages. End of the race is going to happen around lap 140, so a long way there at the end, Jacob. I think right there we're going to see those green flag pit stops. We're going to see that volume turn up with, say, about 25, 30 laps to go there at the end. Here tonight, these drivers will have 5 sets of tires and a 75% fuel capacity, Jacob. So what do you think, tires or fuel here tonight?
Honestly, it's going to be tires, Will. I mean, this track is, like I said earlier, I mean, this track is beat all to heck. This track is, I mean, honestly, I love this configuration over the old configuration where it was more or less flat. And that was back in around the early 2000s when this track was flat. This track's got a lot of banking in it, so they're going to be able to drive and have higher speeds going in the corners. So honestly, you know, for me, Will, I would want tires as much as I possibly could. Granted, that 75% of fuel, that'll scare you a little bit, but I think their tires are going to wear out faster than their fuel is.
Yeah, we'll see that probably there at the end of those stages, Jacob. I feel like that's when we'll start to see those signs of that tire wear. So keep an eye out probably around the 25 lap range here in stage number 1 if we don't have another caution here. But the pace truck pulls off right now. See if we can get this rocking and rolling. See if we can get one clean lap in the books. It's going to be Keith Bradley there on the outside. Joey just said on the inside. The green flag is in the air as the animal takes us down to corner number 1.
Yeah, and Keith Bradley absolutely rolling with it. Just absolutely pulling a very, very, very good restart right there for Keith Bradley, but I would watch out for him. I mean, they're rolling right now, but Keith Bradley has absolutely checked out. Will, he is gone.
Yeah, as the rest of the field single file into 3 and 4, a few battles are brewing there at the tail end of the grid. We see a battle for 5th right there. Looks like Stephen Thomas is trying to get a position there as we come off of 4. That's one clean lap in the books as Keith Bradley takes us down to 1.
Yep, Keith Bradley rolling right here. About a half a second, got a wreck behind him. Looks like it's Dan Hagan in the 39 truck, got spun. No caution yet, Will, but he is stopped on the track. He's going to be able to whoop it back around and try to get it back going. But going back to Keith Bradley, absolutely rocking and rolling about half a second ahead of Ashley Dodgson right now.
Yeah, second right now. Keith Bradley takes us off the corner. And Ashley Dodson in the 88 machine, he has some fire behind him. A regular season champion, or tied for regular season champion there with Adam Newbert in the 4. Adam Newbert ended up getting it based on wins, but Joey Doucette had one heck of a season there, currently in 3rd. Trying to put on the back bumper of Ashley Dodson here. He sees that inside opportunity there. But I think, Jacob, right now, if I'm the 16, I'm just comfortable in 3rd. I'm going to ride out this first stage here in the top 3, get my stage points. No, he's not taking that advice. He's going to go to the inside of the 88 right here on 3 and 4. Joey Doucette's trying to make it up to 2nd, still side by side off of 4. He clears 88. Joey Doucette up to 2nd.
Yeah, Joey going to be able to clear him. Very, very good run right there by Joey Doucette. And he's going to try to set his sights on Keith Bradley. But the main one thing that I wanted to bring up about this track, Will, is that there's 3 seams here, or here at Homestead. You got to watch those seams. These trucks, when they get on those seams, it's going to throw them off balance, and it could get them really, really loose. So that's something that we definitely need to watch out for. As we see right here, Keith Bradley, he's not even running the seam. He's right smack dab on the bottom of the track, right up against the white line, the shortest way around this track, and he's not running up top trying to burn his tires up neither. That's another place that can really hurt you, is up top burning your tires up. So he's running right on the bottom, and he is checking out almost right now 3/4 of a second right now.
Yeah, and just ran his fastest lap time last time by. Ran a 34 flat there, Jacob. So just buzzing around this racetrack here tonight. And that's scary, I'd have to say, for the rest of the field. We saw the same show at Richmond last week. Keith Bradley in the 29. He led 115 laps in that race out of 175. So let's see here tonight if somebody can keep Keith Bradley from doing that same thing again.
Yeah, and you just called it a minute ago. He ran a 34-second lap time just that last lap. We qualified at a 33.6, so he's only 4/10 off of what he actually ran for qualifying, but he's checking out, he's moving, he's going out, and he's just leaving everybody. But one thing you got to wonder about, Will, is he going too hard? I mean, is he possibly burning his tires up? I mean, he got another 10th right there off Joey Doucette, so hopefully he's not burning his tires up, but he looks like he's on cruise control, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the 29 does. If anything, Jacob, you'll see him start to slow down towards the end of the stage. But what the 29 likes to do, once he's up in this clean air, he separates, he checks out. Exactly what you're seeing here. He'll slow down a bit there probably at the end of the stage. You'll see a battle probably with 3 to go, 4 to go. It's just because he's kind of easing off that equipment there at the end of the stage. He'll probably end up getting the stage victory, or he'll give it to somebody else there at the end of the stage. It's all in that strategy for the 29, Jacob. But right now we're checking out the 3 of Chris Cinnamon, who's trying to get up to the podium. Ashley Dotson, Jacob, right in that top side lane, losing some speed, now having to block some trucks coming up on him.
Yeah, he's not having to, and you know, or it's like I said a while ago, we're running that top lane. It's going to burn your tires up. I mean, it is faster up there on that top lane, but you got to watch it up there because you're going to burn your tires up completely, because what you're doing is if you're in the bottom lane, you're not driving as fast as you would on the top. You're not in the throttle as much as you are on the top. So that's one thing that these guys are going to have to watch out for. Running that top lane, it's going to be fast. You're going to be able to make some time up. But in that instance, you're going to burn your tires up. And like I said earlier here at Homestead, you better watch that right there, because this track's already unforgiving on the tires. So they need to watch themselves running at the top.
Yeah, as right now, as we're pretty comfortable here, just about halfway through stage number 1 here in the Pultz Poppers 200. Again, this is round number 2 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs. Keith Bradley already punched that golden ticket to the next round, trying to see if somebody else can punch that golden ticket, or Keith Bradley can keep racking up those wins. Right now, though, we're riding on board with Chris Cinnamon here in this Ford. You see he's trying to battle out positions with Stephen Thomas in the 23 as we cruise into 3 and 4.
Yeah, and Chris Cinnamon just going to roll the bottom right here. Looks like, you know, Stephen Thomas is going to try to run that top lane, and maybe that's what is working out well for him. I mean, some guys can run that top and not burn off a lot of tire. They're able to make runs and to be able to close in and be able to save tire on the top and still be fast and still be competitive. But, you know, on the bottom right here, Chris Cinnamon going to get right up on beside of him, almost got into his door a little bit. There was a little bit of a gap right there, so Stephen Thomas still going to run that top. Now he looks like he's going to try to jump down and try to cut that air off right there from Chris Cinnamon. So dirty air may play into factors right here, and it will upset the truck as well, Will.
Yeah, and for Stephen Thomas, finished 3rd last week. I know he wanted to win that race. It was actually a race that he sponsored there, the 23 machine. We appreciate that sponsorship of that race. 23 finishes 3rd in that race. We talked to him in that post-race interview, as we do all the podium finishers. You can almost hear a little bit of a disappointment in the podium finish, because he knows he can do better. He probably could scrape out a 2nd, getting by Chris Cinnamon in the 3. Here tonight, though, Jacob back inside the top 5, trying to cruise to another podium. That's that consistency we love to see in these playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, this right here with the playoffs, this is when you want to be as most consistent as you possibly can. I mean, it doesn't matter what you've done throughout the regular season. You can't look back at something that you did in the regular season. It's 10 straight weeks right here of all you have. Consistency, consistency, consistency. This is exactly what they need to do. Stephen Thomas is able to do that. Granted, he might have been a little bit upset last week that he sponsored the race, but, you know, obviously he sponsored the race. He wanted to win it, but third place finish, that is going to, I mean, third place finish last week, right here running the top 5, just getting ready, just to calculate, just put all them stage points, put them in a bag, take them on the next week, just make it easier on yourself. You don't have to win a race to win the championship. You just got to be consistent.
And that's exactly what Keith Bradley's doing there in the 29 machine, still with a lead on the racetrack, though. Down to about a 2nd over Joey Doucette, but with 11 laps to go here in the stage. That might be enough for that stage. But this is what I was talking about here, Jacob, here in this later part of this stage. Now you're starting to see that interval come down just a little bit. You know, every time the 29's getting slower and slower. I think right now he's starting to ease off the equipment. Probably still hoping for that stage victory. If he doesn't get it, I don't think he'll be incredibly disappointed. He's racing for checkers.
Yeah, he's absolutely racing for checkers. He's got nothing basically to race for. I mean, all for the wins, but if he does win, that's more playoff points. That's more stage points. I mean, granted, he doesn't need the stage points. He's going to the next round.
For
But
another
the
2
playoff
weeks.
points, yeah, I mean, but the playoff points, they will help. They carry over. They carry over to that next round. So all the playoff points that he can get, that's exactly what he's needing. Now, granted, Joey Doucette got it down to 9/10 of a second, so you got a 10th on Keith Bradley right there. So going back to what you was talking about, he gets that run right there at the start and then starts easing off. So I don't know. Joey's going to have to put the hammer down right here. He's going to have to try to catch him. But if he can get him within a 10th of a lap, he'll be right on his back bumper by the green checker.
Yeah, watching that battle, we also have a battle for a podium finish here in the stage. You see Stephen Thomas there in the 23, Chris Cinnamon right there battling out for top 5s. And they're right on the tail of Justin Lumpkin there in the 18. This is not what Justin Lumpkin wants to see. I know none of us rear view race here, but if he just looks back, he'll see 2 hungry dogs right behind him here down the backstretch. Justin Lumpkin just trying to hold on to this podium finish here in the stage.
Yeah, and just try to get as many stage points as he can to try to make it into the next round. Just trying to help his case any way he can. Lumpkin going to run it right there about the middle of the track. Looks like Stephen Thomas tried to get a little bit of a run. We've seen him already. He was trying to run the top earlier. So he's going to, so I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen Thomas tried to go to the top. Looks like he's going to go to the bottom, really low down to the bottom. They try to get a draft right here off of Justin Lumpkin. Try to get him on the backstretch, but they better watch themselves. I mean, Chris Cinnamon back there, you better watch him. He may try to make a run at him right here. Here he comes. Ooh, boy, sent it right there, Will.
Yeah, that was a big send from the 3 right there on the entry of the corner, trying to ride that momentum on the exit. He is on the back fender of the 18. Will he have enough here into 1? Looks like he has that momentum as we ride down into corner number 1. Chris Simmons going to ride that thing. A big run into the corner, Jacob. They're side by side off of 2.
Yeah, and hopefully he can get him cleared right here, and he looks like he's going to get him cleared.
Oh, man.
And he is going to slide it real tight right there. Justin Lumpkin going to try to slide it back down, try to dive it in right here, see if he can make it stick, but he's not going to be able to make it stick. Kind of got a little bit loose right there, Will.
Big slide.
Yeah, Chris Cinnamon going to be able to roll it around the top, and they better watch out. Stephen Thomas might take a shot at him right here.
Boy, Jacob, that was a slow motion slide for the 18. I don't know how he kept his cool in that cockpit. I saw that 18 sliding and sliding and sliding. He just rode that wave on the exit of the corner, kept that thing straight. Killed the momentum, though, as now the 23 of Stephen Thomas is going to make a pass on him here on 3 and 4. Here comes Robert Richards in the 48, though. He wants to take it to the party as we come raging off corner number 4.
Yeah, and Robert Richards is going to just sit there. He's been watching all these guys just race it out. Wow, big slide right there. Wow, by Stephen Thomas, going to jump up in front of Justin Lumpkin. Robert Richards going to try to see if he can get in the middle of this and let them know, hey, I'm here. I'm going for it. I'm going to get me some stage points as well. So a lot of great battling right here. And this is just for 5th. I mean, these guys are doing absolutely all they can, just trying to get every little stage point that they can right now.
And I think we've seen this from the drop of the green flag. These drivers have tried over and over again to advance for position here only in stage number 1. We have big movers already. Chris Cinnamon up 6 spots. Stephen Thomas up 4 spots. Adam Newbert up 4 spots. Kyle Hess down in the 13th position. He's up 6 spots. So drivers already making big moves, already making passes on the racetrack early on. Here goes the 48 of Robbie Richards. He's going to go to the inside of the 18 of Justin Lumpkin. Looks like he'll have the momentum. The 18, though, now loses some spots on the racetrack. That's 2 spots in 3 laps for the 18.
Yeah, and he possibly might have burnt his tires up, to be honest with you, Will. I mean, his last lap right here, I'm looking at it. He ran 35.571. These guys qualified at a 33. Granted, Keith Bradley was running 34s a minute ago. So talking about the tire wear that we was talking about before this race started, Will, this track will kill your tires. So it looks like Justin Lumpkin, he's just praying to get to the end of the stage at this point, because I think he might have burned his tires up too much.
Yeah, with here 3 laps to go here in stage number 1. If you're watching that ticker on your screen here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network, those drivers you see monikered in that yellow or gold, whichever floats your fancy, those are championship drivers. You see, of course, you'll see the 29 of Keith Bradley. He has that green color to his name, Jacob, because he is locked into the next round. But as you see your favorite drivers on the top, just know if they're in yellow, they're still in the hunt for that championship.
Yeah, any of these guys is still in the run for the championship. But, talking about like Ed Osborne, I was watching him a minute ago. His times have, well, they was dramatically dropping. I don't know what happened to him, but, seeing his last lap time, looks like he ran a 35.7, I believe. So he's still not out of this right here. He's going to have to really stack up and try to get something. He probably won't be able to pull it off in this stage. But if he wants to try to get him some stage points and try to help himself try to get in the next round, he's going to have a quick turnaround right here and try to get up in there in the top 10 and see what he can get.
Yeah, very muddled back there as now we're cruising through some lap traffic. But one driver who is not muddled at all, he is in that clean air, enjoying the best life up here in the penthouse position. The 29 of Keith Bradley here with just about 2 laps to go. Here, it looks like when we go across the start-finish line here, that'll bring an end to this stage here. Jacob Keith Bradley, I think he led every lap there in the stage. The animal is going to take stage number 1.
Starting from the pole, I led all 30 laps. Will, that is dominance right there for that very first stage. And, I mean, not much more you can say about that. I mean, he put it on cruise control, got out there, left them. Granted, Joey Doucette was kind of closing in on him a little bit, so Joey might, I think Joey's tickled to death getting that second place finish because he knows what Keith's going to be able to do later on in the race. But Keith Bradley leading all those laps, getting those stage points, getting those extra points, just putting them all in the bank. That way it's just going to help him out later on down the road.
Yeah, folks, if you're joining this broadcast late, Keith Bradley, as Jacob just mentioned, started on the pole, wins stage number 1 here in very impressive fashion. Joey Doucette again started second, finishes stage number 1 in the second position. But Jacob, that's where the rest of the field gets a little wacky. A lot of movers and shakers after the second position. We have Chris Cinnamon, who finishes that stage number 1 in third. Biggest mover, not biggest mover, up 6 spots there. Biggest mover was Jeff Sickles in the 15th position, up 9 spots. Chris Cinnamon is going to finish third there in stage number 1. Stephen Thompson, the 23, up 4 spots, going to finish 4th. Robbie Richards in the 48 is going to finish 5th. Justin Lumpkin's going to go down a spot and finish 6th. Adam Newton's going to finish 7th, down 3 spots. Ashley Dodson in the 88. We saw him losing positions on the racetrack. Let's see if he can get that fixed here in stage number 2. He finishes 8th. CJ Fonda in the 53 finishes 9th. And Adam Newbert is going to be our stage point winner there, our top 10 in stage number 1.
Yeah, been real good for all those guys. You see, we got some of them going down pit road. Matter of fact, every single one of them going down pit road, all of them are very happy to get to that stage. And I know that Ashley Dodson was very tickled to have that caution come out as much as he was dropping down right there. I think he, like I said earlier, I think he burnt his tires up and he was just ready for that caution to come out. So Ashley Dodson, Justin Lumpkin, some of those guys was running really good, was going to look at some serious stage points right there, but burnt their tires up. And I would love to see what their tire wear was, especially Ashley Dodson after that run right there, because he burned them up big time from what I was seeing.
Yeah, looks like it was about an airtight battle off of pit road there. Keith Bradley, Joey Doucette will ride off of pit road just where they began. But we'll take our first break of the evening here on the NASCAR 360. Our Racing Network will be right back with stage 2 of the Pultz Poppers 200 here from Homestead. Welcome back to the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. We just saw the conclusion of stage number 1, won by the animal Keith Bradley there in the 29 machine. This is the Pultz Poppers 200. Again, my name is William Tiller. I am joined by my new co-host here on Friday nights, Mr. Jacob Reeves. And Jacob, what are you going to say about Keith Bradley there? He led every single lap there in stage number 1.
Well, his nickname being the animal, he just showed it right there is exactly what it was. He showed them that he is the animal, and he is the animal of this series. So big props right there to Keith Bradley, just absolutely dominating that stage 1. Led every single lap, didn't even give the competition a chance to even have a shot at it. The only shot that they had was on the restarts. Both of the restarts was the only time they had a shot at him. But then after they got off turn 2, he was gone.
Yeah, and I think in this series, you really get a great look of all the talents of these drivers. I think you have drivers that can lead every lap, win a race. You have drivers that strategize, win a bunch of races during the season because of their strategies. You have drivers like the 16 of Joey Doucette, who you're seeing on your screen now, who just racks up top 10s, top 5s. He just turtles his way through the season, tied for the points lead at the end here, in good shape here in these playoffs as well. So here on this Friday night series, you get a good look of all the skill of all these drivers. I'm glad you're joining me here on these Fast Fridays here, Jacob, because right now you look at the grid, you got Keith Bradley's going to take this green flag, Joey Doucette in the 16, Stephen Thomas right there. They're raging now here in stage number 2.
Yeah, and Joey Doucette looked like he kind of got a bad start right there. Keith Bradley, once again, same old song, same old dance right here. Keith Bradley going to start checking out again. Just different stage, different laps is all it is right here for Keith Bradley, just running away with it. Big wad of cars, everybody else coming, trying to just catch up to the top 5 right here, Will.
Yeah, as we come off of corner number 4 right now, the field is fanned out as the first lap here in stage number 2 is in the books. So single file down into corner number 1. Looks like we have a battle brewing. Looks like for about the 10th position there on the racetrack, just above Justin Monk, and that's going to be about for the 8th position. That's Adam Newbert trying to make his way up there in that Ford machine.
Yeah, Adam Newbert, as we talked about earlier, Adam Newbert was a champion in the Monday Night Series. Really showing them how to do it right here. Just barely got that stage point to be able to get something out of that first stage. And you know, I might be biased for saying this, but hey, that's a Georgia boy right there. I'm from Georgia. I'm all for the Georgia boys out here showing them how to do it.
Yeah, and like you mentioned here tonight, Adam Newbert is coming off that SimRacerHub.com Truck Series Championship. Just ran the clashes and the qualifiers for that series, kicking off the regular season here in about a week or so. Jacob, for the Ford machine, how focused do you think he is coming off that championship to now have to shift focus here? We'll pause on that thought here as now we have a battle for the lead as Stephen Thomas going to go to the inside of the 29 of Keith Bradley here. What a battle we have now raging here in stage 2. We saw Keith Bradley dominate stage number 1. Now he's under pressure here in stage 2.
Yeah, this is very new for Keith Bradley. Stephen Thomas put pressure on Keith Bradley. The first person that's been able to put any pressure on Keith Bradley all race long. And Stephen Thomas is the one to do it right here. Going to be right up on his back bumper, try to get this run. Wow, Keith Bradley sending it into turn 3. Stephen Thomas probably lifted a little bit to try to get that extra speed coming off the corner. But Keith Bradley, for the first time in this race, Will, is having a look in his rearview mirror. He's actually got a challenger, and his name is Stephen Thomas.
Yeah, and I think there in stage number 1, we saw Keith Bradley take the green flag, check out in that clean air, didn't really feel anything, didn't feel any pressure. Just based off the gap that he was able to build up early on in this race. Now having to go through pit stops, you take those tires that you were building up pretty sticky on the racetrack, probably with a little bit of wear on them. But now the 29 doesn't know what to do as Stephen Thomas to the inside of him here on 3 and 4. Joey Doucette's trying to link up with him and follow by, but no, a little bit of a wiggle off of 4 for the 23 as now he follows back behind the 29 and keep Bradley into 1.
Yeah, he sent it right there into turn 3 to try to pack some dirty air right there on Keith Bradley. You know, nothing dirty about it. You know, it's just dirty air. You know, just try to pack air on him and try to get that truck loose to probably try to just get him a little bit loose, slide him up a track. That way Stephen Thomas is able to make the pass. There's a lot of drivers that usually do that, and it's not a clean move. It's not necessarily a dirty move. It's just a racing move. You know, drivers will do that to try to make a pass. So it's better to actually pack air up somebody's tailgate rather than obviously hit them in the back end, try to spit them out. So you try to use any way that you can, but I'm gonna tell you right now, Stephen Thomas, he might have put too much pressure on his tires. Watch out, Joey Doucette. He's gonna try to make a run going into 3, Will.
And we have about 4 trucks that have now separated from the rest of the field. Chris Simmons on the tail end of this pack here, but he is with them right now. As just as you mentioned, the 16 of Joey Doucette now trying to put some pressure on the 23 of Stephen Thomas. This is exactly what the 29 of Keith Bradley wants to see in his rear view here in stage number 2. This is what allowed him to get such a big gap there in stage number 1. Watch out, Jacob. I think the 29 knows exactly what he's doing there in the penthouse.
Yeah, I believe he does, and it didn't help too much that, you know, Joey Doucette done the same exact thing that Stephen Thomas was trying to do to Keith Bradley. Got him loose coming off of 4, packing that air, but here comes Joey Doucette right on the bottom of the track, sent it in on Stephen Thomas. We're going to see if he can make it stick right here and not come up into him. Door to door, side by side, real tight as they're getting ready to go into turn 1, but Keith Bradley is loving this right here, just looking in the rearview mirror. Both of these guys racing each other's hearts out. And this is just going to give Keith Bradley the opportunity to just drive away.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned that, Jacob, when we crossed the line, the gap was 30 seconds. We went into 1 and 2, was up to 40 seconds. Now climbing back up to 40 seconds. So every lap that these two battle it out is every lap that Keith Bradley can stack up that lead. But here we go, 45 laps in the books. Now Keith Bradley takes us into 1. That battle for a second still raging on, though, Jacob.
Yeah, Stephen Thomas is just doing all he can. These guys are, I'm loving this right here, watching this, Will. I mean, Stephen Thomas is throwing everything he can at Joey Doucette. Joey Doucette threw everything he could at Stephen Thomas, just swapping moves the best that they possibly can. This is something that you would possibly see at a super speedway, just all the moves they were throwing. But now Stephen Thomas probably burn his tires up trying to get up there to Keith Bradley. He's going to start sliding back. Chris Cinnamon that finished 3rd in the last stage, he's going to try to get up here and capitalize off of Stephen Thomas. Joey Doucette just trying to reel in Keith Bradley. I mean, and there's battling all over the racetrack, Will, but this is probably the best battle right here that I'm seeing as of right now.
Yeah, and one driver, too, to spotlight all those battles you were talking about there, Jacob, is Chris Blanchard. The 9 machine is now cracked inside the top 10. He is our biggest mover so far, up 16 spots from the drop of the green flag. Mind you, we've had but 1 caution flag here tonight. That was on lap 1, so Chris has done it the hard way so far.
Yeah, the absolute hard way, just driving the heck out of that truck and possibly getting a little bit lucky. I mean, granted, what he had built was probably not for qualifying. I mean, granted, some of these drivers, especially like me, I'm not the best at qualifying, but when it comes to race, I'm able to race. Some of these guys might have that mindset to where they've only got one way that they can run this track. That it might just be the way that they can do it, and they can't just completely send it in there and just drive the heck out of the car. Maybe that's in his mindset, but from what it's looking like, I believe that's what it is he either screwed up in qualifying or he's just got his one way that he can drive this track. Well, it's working out for him right now. He don't need to change anything. He's went, like you said, from 25th all the way up to 9th trying to battle right here with Adam Newbert.
Yeah, and you talk about battles on the racetrack. This is one heck of a battle here. This is for 8th, as now Chris Blanchard's going to go to the inside of the 4. Adam Newbert, these two drivers right now comfortable inside the top 10, but you can see the pressure the 9's putting on the 4 right there. The 9 might have something underneath that hood here tonight as we cross the start-finish line. Now back down to 1.
Yeah, going into 1 right here. Blanchard's going to send it again, running right here in the middle right here with Adam Newbert. We talked about Adam Newbert a while ago. What was his mindset going into this race? You know, coming off that championship, completely different series. You know, he just got through with the Clash, getting ready to run Daytona for the qualifiers, for the duels. What's his mindset? Well, if it were me and it was my mindset, I would be jacked up 9 ways to Sunday, knowing that, hey, I'm already a champion in basically the same vehicles that I have won the championship in. So I honestly, Will, I think he's got a target on his back right now because of what he has done previously on Monday nights. So he's probably got a target on his back, but it just makes him hungrier. It just makes him have more confidence. So, I mean, I think his mindset's going to be just fine for Adam Newbert. So I don't think you'll have to worry about him.
Yeah, not at all right now. Comfortable inside that top 10. I'm sure we'll see the 4 put on that magic like he always does here in the late stages of the race. But we're cruising towards the conclusion of stage number 2 already here. Jacob, only 1 caution flag on the race, and that happened in lap number 1. Ever since then, these drivers getting comfortable here. Been a lot of battles for position on the racetrack, as we're going to tune into one right now here off of 2. But for the most part, it's been Keith Bradley at the top of the grid. I think that's just going to be a running trend here tonight, unless somebody can put some heat on him here at the top.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some kind of pitch strategy call or some kind of strategy in some way. I mean, Keith Bradley right now with a 0.6 of a second lead. Stephen Thomas able to hold on to third. I mean, granted, him and Joey Doucette was battling the heck out of one another a while ago. About 0.2 off of Joey Doucette right now. Chris Sentiment in third. Robert Richards in fifth. So a lot of these guys that were where they was at the start of this stage, they're basically in the same spots that they was in when it started. So, I mean, they didn't really move. Some of them moved. You know, granted, Joey Doucette lost a little bit on the restart, was able to gather it back up. So, but, you know, like we talked about, Will, I mean, just Keith Bradley looks like he's going to just try to walk away with the stage 2 win right here.
I just cruising it down here in stage number 2. And I was just checking there, Jacob, as we were talking about the conclusion of stage number 2. We look at the likes, we of course going to be the top 20 drivers here in the first couple races of round number 1 of these playoffs. We're going to be the top 16, but I wanted to mention here, unfortunately for Dan Hagen there in that NASA space machine there, that truck, we see him on the grid now. He's a lap down in 26th position. He was currently at the bottom of that top 20 position, Jacob, and of course these drivers have to advance 4 positions if they want to make it into the next round. Things are not looking good for Dan Hagen at 39.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's a long race, Will. I mean, anything is possible here on iRacing, and you know this as well as I do. I mean, it's like I said, anything is possible. So, right now, he's a lap down, so hopefully, you know, nobody else goes a lap down. Hopefully, Keith Bradley doesn't put anybody in that situation, and Dan Hagen will be able to get back on the lead lap. But Dan Hagen was one of those guys, I believe, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Will, he was the one that missed the shift at the start of the race and put himself in that situation that he's in. But like I said, it's like we talked earlier, it's a long race. Anything can happen. So right now he's just hoping nobody else goes a lap down, and he's going to be able to get the lucky dog right here and get back on the lead lap and see if he can salvage what he can.
I think Dan Hagen was the truck that had the solo spin, if you will. He got spun by himself. I don't think anybody was around him there. As you see, Devin Painter's going to get a little loose off the corner. On the flip side of that, you look at the likes of CJ Fonda, who's up to 12th inside the top 15. He needs to rack up some finishes as well if he wants to advance to that next round of the playoffs. Currently, CJ is sitting in the 19th position in those points standings. Of course, fans, you have to get to the top 16 if you want to advance to the next round. CJ, though, is in a nice, comfortable position here about halfway through this race.
Yeah, very, very comfortable position. Just rolling with it. Just basically all these guys are just rolling with it, honestly, Will. But, you know, he wants to get him some extra. Wow, got a slide right there in front of him as well. That's Devin Painter. Looks like it's going to help out CJ Fondal as well right here. So try to help him out a little bit. But that was a big slide right there by Devin Painter. Almost lost it right there off turn 4.
Yeah, CJ Fonda is now trying to get the inside of the 99 Devin Painter here as we're down the backstretch. Not going to do it, though. The 99. Now, this is the point in this race. We're starting to see the equipment start to go just a little bit. Of course, we had those pit stops there on lap 30, but now we're about 30 laps into these tires. It's still about looking around 7 laps to go here in stage number 2. So with Keith Bradley. But Keith Bradley, Jacob, you know, we watched all these other battles on the racetrack. We've highlighted a few guys. In that meantime, Joey Doucette's cut that to about a half a second lead here. A much smaller gap than it was in stage number 1.
Yeah, I've been sitting here watching that, Will. He is actually really starting to close in on him, and with 7 laps left in this stage right here, Keith Bradley, he may be in a little bit of trouble right here. Now Joey Doucette and Keith Bradley just about the same right there, still at about a half a second. So Keith Bradley, I'm sure he's watching his lap timer. I'm sure he's watching his relative, seeing that Joey Doucette's closing in. If not closing in, he is staying right there with him. So, I mean, it's close. I mean, it's not as close as it was earlier with Stephen Thomas and Joey Doucette right up on his tailgate, but Keith Bradley better watch himself. As you see them right there, all 3 of them, matter of fact, Keith Bradley, Joey Doucette, and Stephen Thomas, all 3 of those drivers right there on your screen completely left everybody. They've left Chris Simeon, they've left Adam Newton, Robert Richards. These 3 trucks right here, it's going to come down to these 3 trucks right here, honestly. Barring anything crazy, these right here, this is going to be your race to the finish with these 3 guys.
Yeah, and the 29 there looked a little wacky coming off of 4. We're going to see how he looks now as we go to the apex at 3 and 4. Something about 4. That's a lot of speed last time by. See if it's the same thing here down the front stretch. It looks like he might save it just a little bit there around 3 and 4. That's where I'm seeing the 29 just to lose a little speed on the exit of 4. But he builds all that speed back up through 1 and 2 and the backstretch shakeup. So watch here as we come off of 2. Going to go down the backstretch here, still with a gap of about a half a second over the 16 and the 23. Goes into 3 and 4 right now. And I think this is going to be the corners that he saves the equipment, because right off of 4, starting to see it just wind down just a little bit. It's going to come off of 4, see what that lead stays at. It's actually going to maintain right there. So maybe the 29 is not saving now with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I mean, turn 4 and turn 2, they would look similar on paper, but they're not. They are absolutely not. Turn 2, you can get real loose off of that corner, and for some reason,
right there.
Yeah, right there it is. I mean, he just got really loose. Joey Doucette may be able to capitalize on this, but with turn 3 and 4, this is when you're usually tight. Or some trucks, they're usually going to be loose if they're riding on that seam. So I'm telling you right now, Keith Bradley, with that big slide right there, he was able to keep it up under him. Joey Doucette, let's see if he closed the gap. No, it actually maintained, believe it or not, Will. So Keith Bradley might have got him a little bit back right there off of 4, but we'll watch right here and see if he slides a little bit right here. He kept it straight right there. So Keith Bradley, big scare for him, but he's able to hold on to it, Will.
Yeah, even without a little bit of a wiggle out of the 29, it took about 20/10 of a second off that lead. But once the 29 was able to keep those Goodyear Eagles going straight, that gap went right back up to about a half a second. Now, as we have 4 laps to go here in stage number 2, we'll see if Keith Bradley can sweep the stages en route to what he possibly hopes is his 2nd win in a row. We'll see here now as we take on 1 and 2.
Yeah, but I guarantee you right now, I know he's wanting that stage win, but but honestly, I think he's looking in his rearview mirror and he sees Joey Doucette in his rearview mirror. Got a lap truck right here in front of him, Dan Hagan. This is something that Dan Hagan did not need right here. He does not need this right here to go 2 laps down. And actually, he's not even the lucky dog right now. It's actually James D. Morris who's going to be the lucky dog beneficiary. So even when this stage break comes out, you know, Dan Hagan's not going to be able to get it, or at least from what it looks like Dan Hagan was able to get it back for some reason. I don't know what happened to James D. Morris, but Dan Hagan going to be back in that lucky dog spot. But wow, Keith Bradley was able to get around him. Now Joey Doucette and Stephen Thomas going to have to battle it out just to try to get by the lap truck. So Keith Bradley, that might have been his lucky dog right there, honestly, to have Dan Hagan right there and be able to hold him up with him.
And Keith Bradley takes stage number 2 here in the Pultz Poppers 200. He'll sweep the stages here at Homestead, Miami. The animal definitely came hungry here tonight. We thought after winning the first race here in round number 1, he would all but lay back, but he is not doing that here tonight. He is laying forward up in that house position. 2 stage wins, a win last week. We'll see if the 29 can close it out. But we'll step aside here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. We just saw the conclusion of stage number 2, where the animal sweeps both stages here in the Pultz Poppers 200. But I believe we are now joined by Keith Bradley there in the 29 machine. And Keith, we were just talking off air here as we were rolling off a pit road there, the 29 machine. That's now 5 in a row if you're counting the win from last week and all the stage victories. Boy, you got that mojo flowing in that cockpit.
Yeah, it's playoff time. It's down to crunch time. It's down to buckling down and being a little more serious. I know I didn't have the finishes to show in the regular season, but I think we finished the regular season with a ton of momentum. So,
sticking with that moniker of the Upfront Motorsports, you talked about last week coming off that win at Richmond that you're going to be more of a teammate here in these races. Here tonight, though, it's been just a lonely race for you there at the top of the grid. Is there any way that you can maybe incorporate some of your teammates? Chris Blanchard up 16 spots from the drop of the green flag.
I mean, we'll see. We'll just have to play the race the way the cards fall. If there's a way to help him, I'll help him. If there's not, then I can't just lose position to help them, unfortunately.
That's right, Keith. But before we let you go, my man, to the drop of the green flag, what's going to get the job done here? As my colleague Jacob up here in the booth here, we were talking, boy, I hope he doesn't blow it. No commentators curse there. But what's going to get the job done here? Because you've really done everything you can already.
Just keeping the long run speed. See if we can find some things to mess with. We'll see. We'll see how the tires fall off more in the long run, because we're gonna have to save them a little more than what we were in the stages. I figured stages were short enough to where I could push it and push the truck pretty hard.
Well, Keith, before we let you get back to it here with those stage victories, both 1 and 2, is there anyone you want to shout out here or any sponsors that are making this race possible for you?
All my sponsors. Dan's Top Notch Heating and Cooling, for one. He spent a lot of money sponsoring the whole team, so give him a big shout out to John Hedrick for painting all the trucks for the team and all my teammates.
Well, Keith, I cannot wait to see the rest of this race. Cannot wait to see if you can put that 29 machine in victory lane back to back. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, guys.
That was Keith Bradley, the driver of the 29 machine, the animal up there, Jacob. He is hungry, even trying to be a good teammate.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that right there, Will. He's not going to be first. He's not going to dictate this restart right here. Joey Doucette beat him off of pit road. That's going to be a big game changer right there. So Joey going to be taking the top lane right here. We're going to see if he's going to be able to get the jump right here on Keith Bradley. So, yeah, he's been an animal for all these for all the restarts, and he's been an animal for the 2 stage wins that he's had so far this playoffs, and also the win last week. But he's gonna have to get around Joey Doucette. This will be the first time that he's actually gonna have to actually try to pass somebody. So we'll see if Keith's gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, right now, as the pace lights are off of the pace truck, Keith Bradley, Joey Doucette, Stephen Thomas, Chris Cinnamon are top 4. They're at the grid. They'll take the green flag. Joey Doucette's going to get a little bit of a jump on the outside. He'll take it down into corner number 1 as the Pultz Poppers 200 now is in the late stages.
Yeah, Joey Doucette, for his first time being able to lead this right here, is going to be able to knock off the dominance of Keith Bradley, but Keith going to be right up his tailgate. Chris Cinnamon and Stephen Thomas trying to battle it out for third, but wow, Keith Bradley looks like Chris Cinnamon almost tried to make a run at Keith Bradley right there. So wow, this is going to be big right here. Joey Doucette leading a lap. That's extra points for him for this playoff right here, Will.
First lap under green in the books right now as Joey Doucette in the 16 is going to take us off of 2 down the backstretch. We're back to single file right now. Keith Bradley said, that's okay. I'll chill in second for just a little while. I'll ride that backdraft. As you see the back bumper of Joey Doucette, that moving forward Chevy in front of the animal, the 29. 29 right now, I'd have to say, Jacob, probably just keeping it cool right on the back bumper here. Doesn't want to press the issue too early.
Yeah, and maybe that's why that he didn't actually come out of the pits first. He was nervous about possibly speeding. I mean, granted, he's right there. I mean, granted, he's got that first pit stop. He started first in this race. So, granted, he's just right there at the end, or at the end of pit road. But here at Homestead, that pit road's kind of tricky. You got to watch if you try to gas it out and try to take off as quick as you can to try to get the line. They can pop you for speed, and iRacing has done that to me before, and obviously a lot of fellow iRacers that have raced here before. So that might have been one of the reasons why he was a little bit slow. Either that or Joey Doucette was just right on the money on his pit stop, being able to get out in front of Keith Bradley. And right now, well, he's able to hold him off right now.
Doing a great job blocking for the lead right now. Looking at some other names that are having rough goes. First, we take a look at the 39 at Dan Hagan. He's a lap down. Jeff Sickle is the 22, up 4 spots. He's now back on the lead lap. CJ Fonda's a lap down. Devin Painter in the 99. Not sure what happened in the 99 there, Jacob. He was running inside the top 10. Now down a lap down in the 22nd position. I'm not quite sure what happened on those last set of pit stops.
Yeah, I'm not real sure about that, Will, either. I mean, he was fine, but here's the thing. Maybe he had some damage. Maybe he had to go in there and he had to fix some damage. I mean, we've seen him get loose a couple of times. But, I mean, that might have been the reason why he had to fix it. As we're sitting here looking, I mean, he looks a little bit, I mean, he looks clean. So I'm not real sure why he went down a lap right there. That's very, very heartbreaking for him. So, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you on that one, Will. I mean, very upsetting.
Other names, you know, of course, we're taking a look at Keith Bradley, other leaders at the top of the grid, but some of these names here in that playoff hunt, you look at Devin Painter, we just talked about him. Look at CJ Fonda, now a lap down. He was running in 12th. We talked about the comfortable position he was in there, Jacob. Now all the way down to 12th and a lap down. These are not the type of things you want to have if you want to advance to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, especially right here, the second race in the first round. I mean, if you're going to have these kinds of problems, at least have them in the first race of the round, you know. That way you've got 2 races to be able to back it up. You know, you really don't want to have it in the second race of the first round, because then you're going to have to go into next week and have to try to win to be able to get in. And if you've got to go up against Joey Doucette or Keith Bradley, you might be in a little bit of trouble. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know exactly what happened to them and why they are the laps down that they are, but very unfortunate to see. And I mean, hopefully it won't put an end to their championship campaign, but we'll see for the rest of this race, and we'll see what happens next week with them.
Yeah, tough go with only 1 race to go here in the first round of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs. We're going to cut it down to 16 next round there, Jacob. So we're going to cut 4 drivers from those point standings. So it's a very, very tough go if you want to advance into that next round. Right now we're seeing a lot of moving pieces, including the 9 of Chris Blanchard, who's up another spot, up 17 spots from the drop of the green flag. But his biggest mover award has now been snatched by Cody Knott, up 19 spots from the drop of the green flag. The 26 machine is now knocking on the door of the top 10, currently in 11th.
Yeah, Cody Knott, we haven't actually talked about him a lot this race, probably from where he actually started the race. Dead last, 30th place out of 30 trucks that was in this race. So big headlines right there for Cody Knott, starting dead last, as I said, in the field, all the way up to possibly trying to get up here, see if he can get up here and get a hold of Justin Lumpkin and try to get 10th. But I mean, if he finishes 11th at this point, this is a win right here for Cody Knott. I mean, granted, you want to get as many points as you can and be able to get as many stage points trying to carry over or what have you, but starting 30th here at Homestead and driving it up to 11th, that is big for him.
And I think one of the things that just came into my mind, I just found out that Cody is from Madeira, California, Jacob. So every Friday night that he races in these events, he's racing with a 3-hour disadvantage. When the green flag drops for these races, it's only 6 o'clock for him on the West Coast. But just imagine you're coming home from work, you have to get right on this simulator where the rest of these drivers have about a 3-hour buffer. Never thought about that for the 26, but here tonight, very comfortable in that position.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that until it popped up on our screen that he's from California. So that's a pretty big deal right there in itself on that. I mean, limited amount of, practice time, and Also, as you said, limited amount of practice time to jump into the lobby because, you're able to do test sessions. You're able to run practice sessions with your teammates or what have you here on iRacing anytime that you want. But the track changes so much from session to session, so you don't know. I mean, you don't know going into tonight. These drivers had an idea of what the track was going to be like. They had an idea of what the track temperature was going to be like and the air temperature and all that good stuff. They had an idea, but they didn't know 100% what it was going to be. All they could do was go by what they could go off of from test sessions. So there's another thing right there that's working up against Cody Knott. He don't know until he gets in there. And like you said, for California, just getting off of work and being able to jump straight on the sim, start dead last and drive up to 11th. I mean, I'm telling you, that's good stuff right there. That is a driver right there, Will.
And that's huge, especially since he's only 2 points out of that top 16 with a finish here tonight, maybe inside the top 10. Cody could sneak inside of that top 16. Back to the rest of the action on the racetrack right now. 83 laps into this race. It's still being led by right now Mr. Joey Doucette in that 16. The rest of the race was led by the 29 of Keith Bradley here, winning both stages. But as we talked about off air, Jacob, he has to get the job done, or else all those stats don't really matter. Of course, he's going to get some bonus points, some stage points. But I think a lot of these drivers here in these championship run, in the playoff run, they want checkers. Bonus points and all that stuff, of course, it comes down to math at the end. That will come in handy. But if you win a race, doesn't matter what the points are, Jacob.
No, it does not matter at all. You win and you're in. That's been the name of the game for quite some time, in real NASCAR series and also here on iRacing. Everybody's went to this playoff format. And to be honest with you, Will, I love this particular playoff format because it keeps it keeps it interesting. It keeps everybody closed up together. Obviously, it creates drama. So we're not going to go against the fact, that everybody loves drama in racing. I mean, that's why we love to watch it. So, I mean, I'm all for this playoff format and seeing, what everybody's able to have. I mean, you could have a very, very rough season. Maybe get that one win, maybe get it on points, and then just out of nowhere, just be able to just come up and have a 10-race run and just go up there, more or less like Keith Bradley's been able to do. Five wins, basically, if you count your stage wins, over the past 2 weeks. So that's a pretty big deal. So once again, I love this playoff format.
We talked about off air where the 29 was in those playoff standings. Of course, if we go back and look at everything there where he wasn't in contention for that regular season championship. That was based off of Adam Newbert, and we're looking at Keith Bradley in the 29. You look down the list of playoff points earned during the season. Keith Bradley, you're looking, you see him right there in second, 20 playoff points, but again, not in the contention for that regular season championship at the end. The 29 just had a quiet season so far, but you could hear the intensity in his voice there, Jacob. He is focused in these playoff races.
Yeah, I mean, he is 100% focused. And, what I would compare that to from what we've been talking about, if I had to compare that, I would compare that to like a Jimmy Johnson. From what Jimmy Johnson was able to do in real NASCAR. He would have his good runs, have them throughout the season, but then when it came down to playoff time or chase time or what have you, he was wide open for 10 straight races and never let up, especially being able to go 5 in a row. So I mean, that's a big deal, for Keith Bradley to be able to do it. So if you're going to get hot, this is the time to get hot, as we're seeing him right here. Right up on the back bumper of Joey Doucette. He has had enough, going to try to take it down to the bottom. Joey's not going to let him have it. 2 wide, side by side, real tight coming off of turn number 2. Joey Doucette may be able to get the run off of the top lane. And wow, very tight side drafting right there by Keith Bradley on his left rear. Oh man, this is some good stuff right here, Will. I'm loving this.
Yeah, side-by-side battle here off of for the 29, Keith Bradley at 16, and Joey Doucette on the outside. We were talking about the season the 29 had. He had 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s with only 1 win on the season. As I mentioned, Jacob, that season might have been overshadowed by the regular season of Joey Doucette, by the wins of Adam Newbert. But now in these playoff races, everybody knows who the animal is. He is making it known as now he is our race leader into 3 and 4. But Joey Doucette, who was in those playoff standings as well at the top of that board, he wants something to say here in these late stages. But this is not what the field wants to see. They don't want to see the 29 separate, Jacob. They don't want to see that.
Wow, Keith Bradley, big slide off of turn number 4. That's going to open the door for Joey Doucette. Sorry to cut you off, Will, but that was one of the biggest slides I've seen right here at Homestead. Keith just almost lost that truck right there. I mean, just absolutely animal-like senses to be able to keep it saved. Yeah. I mean, awesome job to keep it saved and to keep the lead in the process. Watching him right here, he's getting loose as well. Like once again in turn 4, Joey Doucette right up on his tailgate, getting him loose. Joey's doing all he can, and he's racing him very, very clean right now as well, Will. He's using the air and trying to manipulate the air in his advantage to try to pull Keith Bradley back to him and try to get back around him. So, I mean, great racing and great save by Keith Bradley.
Yeah, and I think the 16 learned something there in the later parts of stage number 2 and in the early parts of this run as well. If you can keep the 29 in your grasp, you can keep putting that pressure on him. It aggravates the 29 a little bit. You see him sliding a little bit off the exit of these corners. He's overshooting on the entry of some of these corners as well. Still maintaining speed, still maintaining the lead up there, Jacob. And now the 16, even with that big slide, that's exactly what Joey needed. He still stayed in second. He still kept it clean, as you mentioned there, Jacob. I think he's just biding his time for the 29 to just have that slightest mistake once again. He'll slide right underneath.
Yeah, we're bringing into a caution right here, Will. So this is going to completely change this game plan, which is very unfortunate to see the caution come out right here, because that was going to be a killer race right there for the lead. As we're sitting here watching it right here on your screen, we got one slow. So
that's Jose Luis Rivera there in the 20 machine. And Jacob, that's only our second on-track caution of the night. We had one occur on lap 1, and now lap 93 is only our second caution of the night.
Yeah, very unfortunate to see the cautions that, we're getting. I mean, it would be real nice, to just keep it green as it is. And like I said, it would have been awesome to see that run away as well as it was. But, very unfortunate to see the caution come out. But we'll see right here what kind of happened and get us an idea of why this caution come out, Will.
Yeah, see right here off of 2 there, that looks to be Jose right there. Checking it out here off the corner. It looks like just to be a single truck incident, as we've seen with Dan Hagen in the 39. We'll see it right here coming off the corner. Just a little bit of a wiggle right there. That looks like Ashley Dotson that comes by on the inside. And you see not much happening there. It looks like maybe just because he slowed on the apron, Jacob, that the caution flag flew. Didn't look like there's any contact with the wall. No contact with another truck on the racetrack. Just maybe because he slowed up on the apron.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been mechanical failure as well, Will. I mean, with these guys, looking right here at the temperatures of the track, and I'm sitting here looking at it right now. Granted, it's 80%, or excuse me, 80 degrees for the air temp. Track temperature is 128 degrees.
There's the smoke.
Yeah, burning. So he blew it up. Mechanical failure, hard. I mean, hate to see that right there. For anybody to be able to have that kind of situation be put in front of them.
I say for Jose to be able to save that truck off the corner with an engine failure. I gotta say, Jacob, just messing around on this simulator, it's easy to blow an engine if you try to shift gears too fast. The problem with that, Jacob, when that happens and the engine blows, that truck is gonna slide right up from underneath you. Great job of Jose saving that truck, making sure he doesn't take out anybody, getting that 20 machine down pit road. That's going to put us at a little bit of a pause here. Of course, we're going to start to see some drivers head down pit road. I believe a bunch of drivers headed down pit road there as we're checking out that replay. It looks like the entire field headed down pit road.
Yeah, whole bunch of them. Every single one of them coming down pit road very, very happy to see it. I'm not real sure if Joey Doucette was happy to see it because he was right up behind of Keith Bradley, gonna try to see if he could try to seal the deal and possibly try to get away from him or try to get around him and then get away from him. But obviously right here, everybody's going. Every driver that we got out here is going. I mean, granted, they've got a tire limit of 5 sets of tires, excuse me, for this race, but as long as they was running right there, like I said earlier, track temperature over 120 degrees, with a wore out track, you're coming. I mean, regardless, if you've got a set of tires after you had that particular run, you're coming and getting tires. It does not matter. You're not worried about track position at this point.
Yeah, exactly there, Jacob. And boy, what a race it's been. Of course, we watched the 29 of Keith Bradley now here in the second half of this race. Feel the pressure from Joey Doucette in the 16. But a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving positions inside the top 10 throughout the entire race here, Jacob. I got to say, this race has not been lackadaisical at all. It's not been one of those single file, big line races that everybody kind of falls asleep to. It's been battle after battle, position after position, whether it's for the lead, whether it's for a top 5, top 10, top 15. We've seen battles all over the racetrack.
Yeah, we've seen battles all over this track, but one thing I just caught right there when they was coming down to come up to pick up the pace car to get ready to go right here, Christopher Blanchard, he was 7th coming to the line right there. He went down pit road. I'm not exactly sure why he went down pit road, but he's all the way back to 16th position. Give up a lot of track position. Like I said, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what he's aiming for right here. I mean, granted, he might be trying some kind of crazy strategy that we don't know about. But that was just something that caught my eye right there, was he ducked in and went in. Looks like he just went in just to top off for fuel. So maybe he's trying to make it on possibly one more stop and see if he can make it to the end.
As right now we come off of 4. The pace lights are off. The drivers are ready. So are we. It's going to be Keith Bradley, Joey Doucette taking the green flag. It is in the air. It is waving. We're back racing down in the corner number 1 here in the Pultz Poppers 200.
Yeah, Keith Bradley leading them to the green flag. And, wow, that is something right there that Joey Doucette did not want. He wanted to be the leader of this race and be able to dictate the start of this race. But with Keith Bradley, how he just shot out of there, this looks just like the start of stage 1 right here, Will. I mean, looks like he may be checking out right here. But as you talked about it earlier, Joey Doucette might have learned something right here off of Keith Bradley. And, that's one thing, that's big with these long races, like for a 140-lap race in the truck series. You can have the mind games. You've got long enough to think about what somebody would do in a situation or what they're doing. So you got a lot of time to think, plan, and everything else. So that's why I'm real big on these long races like this right here. Gives people time to strategize and gives people chances to try to find weaknesses in other drivers.
Yeah, we're looking at about 41 laps to go here. Make it 40 now across this line. I know we have a fan of Adam Newton watching along with us here on YouTube. The 82 machine's now inside the mix. You see him right there in the 4th position. It's been kind of quiet here tonight, Jacob, but obviously he's kept it clean, kept it out of the disaster, and now up to 4th in prime position. Maybe put some pressure on the 29 and the 16.
Yeah, and but he's got to get through Stephen Thomas first, and we've seen what Stephen Thomas will do. We've seen that he's been an animal. No pun intended, Keith Bradley, but we've seen him be an animal with Joey Doucette. So, Adam Newton, real good to see him back up here going for a top 5. Chris Cinnamon, Adam Newbert, we talked about him earlier. What is his mindset going into this race? So, better watch out for that right there. But there's one guy that we have not talked about. 21 truck, Trey Pitts. He started 28th all the way up to 9th. He's in the top 10. Granted, he's right there with Cody Knott. Both of these guys literally started at the back of the field. And here they are running in the top 10, Will.
Yeah, this is exactly, we just talked about it earlier. This is exactly what Cody Knott needs there in the 26. He needs top 10s, maybe even top 5s if he can squeeze it out there. Make sure he locks that 26 into the next round. But these two drivers right here on the racetrack inside the top 10 are biggest movers of the race so far. Trey Pitts up 19 positions. Cody Knott up 20 spots from the drop of the green flag. Those boys have done it the hard way with only 2 on-track cautions here tonight. 102 laps in there, trying to race it out to make it into the next round right now. But you see that great white shark there, Adam Newbert for the Danco machine right there behind Chris Cinnamon. I talked about that, Jacob. He kind of just keeps it quiet, keeps it cool throughout the entire race. Now we're looking at about 38 to go. He picks once again.
Ooh, we had a big slide back here behind Adam Newbert. Not real sure exactly who it was. Big slide. But yeah, going back to Adam Newbert, yeah, keeping it real quiet. Just keeping it quiet throughout the season. Throughout the race and being there when it matters most. Yeah, I mean, more or less, he's the closer. At least from what I've been able to grasp out of Adam Newbert, he is the closer. Be real quiet throughout the start of the race and then pounce on them when it's time.
Exactly it right here. And I'm trying to think of an Atlanta Braves reference here. Closer. I can't think of any closers of you guys have had in the past, but definitely right there. He's a closer here in this series. That's exactly what he did there in that Monday night series as well, Jacob. He closed those races out. Right now, he's cruising in about the 6th position. Pretty quiet race for him here. I think the 4 is going to really turn it up. He'll get into that top 16, I imagine, the top 8, top 4, and really start to solidify those finishes towards the end. But right now, the 16 and Joey Doucette's not going in the right direction as Adam Newton is putting it on him there in the 82 machine. Joey Doucette's now fading off the top 3.
Yeah, and that's really big. You're right there to see that right there by Joey Doucette was up there actually leading the race, holding off Keith Bradley. So, you know, very, very weird to see that right there. I mean, granted, all of them sitting there running right behind Keith Bradley, 0.2 of a second behind him. So it's not, you know, real bad to see, you know, where everybody's at, or at least Stephen Thomas is 0.2 behind him. You know, Joey Doucette about a second off. So, you know, we might want to watch Stephen Thomas right here. He might have watched what Joey Doucette was doing and what Keith Bradley was doing. So Stephen Thomas may have something for Keith Bradley right here at the end.
Yeah, and the way those two are racing, they're separating themselves from the rest of the pack. It might be just a 2-truck race to the end. And with these trucks last pitting on lap 94, I believe we're going to be close to the end of the race there. Jacob, maybe one more stop if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, with the strategies that I'm seeing right here, you know, you should probably be able to get it in one more stop right here. I mean, with 75, you know, % of fuel, they should be able to make one more stop right here, and then they should be good to go all the way to the end, Will.
As right now we're going to ride on board with the 23 machine of Stephen Thomas, but here 108 laps in. We're going to invite everybody at home, turn those volumes up, get everything rocking and rolling, because we're going to give you the sights and sounds of beautiful Homestead Miami Speedway here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. on here with Justin Lumpkin, the driver of the 18 machine here. Jacob, you can start to see the separation that's now starting to occur between the top 2 spots and the 3rd position of Joey Doucette there in the 16. And for Justin Lumpkin here in the 18 machine, you'd be in 4th. You get a side-by-side battle with Chris Cinnamon there in the 3 machine for 5th. Is this discouraging seeing these gaps forming, or are you just comfortable right now in 5th?
I mean, honestly, I think he's, real comfortable in 5th. I mean, if you're, like I said earlier, I mean, you just want good finishes. You want consistency, as we talked about earlier. You want as much possible consistency that you can have in these playoffs. So, granted, you might not be able to win the race. You might not be able to possibly get 2nd or 3rd. But if you're able to get 5th, that's points. And that's way more points than some of the other guys, as we talked earlier about, CJ Van Dawn and Dane Hagen. I'm sorry, I'm getting some of these names mixed up, but I mean, you're able to get ahead of some of these other guys, and some of these other guys are having unfortunate races, so you're able to get more points. Got some guys actually looking like they're coming down pit road right here, Will.
Yeah, first domino is falling here. This would, what I like to say, would be wave number 1 of these green flag pit stops here. The leaders particularly head down there in wave number 2, and then you start to see those tail end drivers head down in wave number 3. What I think is occurring there for the 3 machine of Chris Cinnamon, he is trying to attempt an undercut for those leaders here, maybe trying to hope on another yellow flag somewhere along the late stages of this race. Now the 3 is going to exit pit road. A quick stop for Chris Cinnamon in the 3 machine.
Yeah, real good stop, but he better watch himself right here because he's fixing to get lapped. But he'll be able to get it right back as long as nothing happens, as long as he doesn't get some type of commitment cone violation coming out, because you got to keep it on the apron and keep it below the blue line that everybody's able to see for iRacing. You got to keep it below that and make sure you go across that blue line. That way you don't get any type of merging too much. You got to be able to keep it down in there and not get black flag. Because you get black flag, your race is over with. So, and the main thing here's another thing that we was going to talk about with these green flag pit stops that these guys are able to make. They hadn't had to really make any green flag pit stops so far with the stages in this race. So this is going to be their green flag pit stop that they're going to have to make. It's very tough to get on this pit road right here. Very tough. We're watching some of these guys 170 miles an hour being able to drive straight into turn 3, and then you're still rolling at a pretty good pace. Well, you got to be able to slow down enough and be able to get on this pit road. And I think this pit road, is at around 45 miles an hour, Will. So these guys are going to have to get it slowed up big time with a greasy track, might I add.
Oh, yeah.
For greasy tires. So they're going to have to really get it wound up and not spin it out, not get loose or what have you. So they're going to have to do all they can and not screw this up right here, because this is the money stop right here.
Yeah, as now we watch Ed Osborne in the 42 machine. He'll head down pit road. We'll watch how difficult it is right here. And you see him slide on the entry of pit road. But who I did just see sliding just a little while ago was the 29 of Keith Bradley. He is battling out with this 23 machine we're riding on board with now. 23 is Stephen Thomas down pit road. Adam Newton, the 82 machines down pit road. We look at some other names down pit road here. Justin Lumpkin, the 18's down pit road. The 4, Adam Newbert's down pit road. Derek Kilgore is down pit road in the 11. We look at Justin Lumpkin. We look at Cody Knotts down pit road in the 26 as well. The only guy who's not down pit road in that leader group is the 29 of Keith Bradley and Joey Doucette in the 16.
Yeah, and what I think Stephen Thomas, here we go right here. Keith Bradley got to watch his speed right here and not screw this up right here. Joey Doucette looks like that he's going to be coming down as well. Or no, he's going to be staying out. But what I think Stephen Thomas was trying to do right there, he's trying to jump Keith Bradley right here. That's why he went in that extra early lap. He already knew that he was going to be able to run right there with Keith Bradley. At least from that run, he's going to be able to do it. So he's trying to jump him. He's trying to get that extra tire, or basically he's trying to get that extra speed. He's going to have fresher tires for this one run, and he's going to be faster than Keith Bradley by just a little bit. So he's going to try to jump him. So it'll be interesting to see if he's going to be able to jump him right here, Will.
Yes, right now Joey Doucette's leading the way. The 16 still out on the racetrack. Dana Shepard's right there in the 45 with him. These drivers have yet to head down pit road. You guys are watching the conclusion of this race. 21 laps to go here in the second race of round number 1 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs. Again, my name is William Tiller. I've been joined by, this is your first race here tonight in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, Mr. Jacob Reeves, and of course, Adam Flieger's been giving you the pictures all night long. And what a race it's been with 20 laps to go here. Man, Jacob, this is that time where you can see the anxiousness start to build up, the volume starts to build up as now we see Dana Shepard in the 45 head down pit road here. It's really anybody's race at this point.
Yeah, really anybody's race. I mean, granted, Joey Deuce said he's still going to have to make that long trip to pit road. And hopefully, you know, Stephen Thomas is going to be able to try to have something right here for Keith Bradley. But, wow, look at this. You know, Stephen Thomas actually jumped Keith Bradley right here. I don't know if there was something that happened to Keith Bradley or what have you, but looks like he's got a pretty good gap on him. I mean, I'm sitting here watching Stephen Thomas coming off of 2, and Keith Bradley, wow, he's in the middle of 1 and 2. So that one lap that he stayed, or excuse me, that one lap that he went in earlier than Keith Bradley, that may have done it right here for Stephen Thomas.
Yeah, Stephen Thomas right now has about a 2-second gap on, oh man, bigger gap that for Keith Bradley right now, 2 seconds over Chris Cinnamon. Right now, Joey Doucette on the top of the grid, Chris Blanchard right there in the 9. Both have yet to pit here, folks. Before you get excited, before your favorite drivers at the top of the grid right now, they have yet to head down pit road. And with these hungry dogs, including Keith Bradley, the animal here, coming up fast with that new equipment, I'm sure that these race leads won't last long here down to 3 and 4, but we're starting to tick down in those single digits, Jacob. We'll have a winner here. Will it be another driver that punches that golden ticket, or will it be Keith Bradley going back to back? We'll see in about 17 laps here. Is Joey Doucette still our race leader down to 1?
Yeah, and Joey Doucette needs to I know what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to run this as long as he possibly can right here. I think he's waiting on a caution. Honestly, Joey Doucette said he's waiting on that caution. That way, if there is a caution and he stays out as long as he can pull everybody else down pit road, because he'll have the fresher tires out of everybody. Well, they're not just going to just sit there and stay out there on, 5, 6, 7, 8 lap tires. They're going to go in and they're going to get those fresh tires. Like we said earlier, this track is very, very hot. So they're burning a lot of tire right now. Now, granted, they are catching Joey Doucette big time. I mean, I'm sitting here looking right here. The last lap for Stephen Thomas was a 34.5. Joey Doucette's running almost a second slower than Stephen Thomas. So that's a big deal.
Jacob, Keith Bradley just ran his fastest lap of the race, fastest lap of the entire field. Ran a 33.92, just backed that up, running a 33.95. So Keith Bradley has got a rocket underneath that 29. He is a man on a mission right now. Shout out to Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, because he is hungry. He is going up the field here with 15 laps to go. You better watch out if you're in front of him.
Yeah, but is he burning his tires up too much? That's the thing you got to think about it, Will. I mean, granted, 15 laps to go. That is still, believe it or not, a long time on a 1.5 mile track. So you got to watch. I mean, you got to watch him. He ran a 34.0 that last lap. We'll see what Stephen Thomas, who would be the leader once everything cycles out. He ran a 34.6. So 34.0, 34.6, 6/10 of a lap, or 6/10 of a second faster from those lap times, but he's driving it harder. He's driving it all he's got. He's sending it in every single corner. I mean, to get those kind of lap times, you're sending it in every single corner. So he's burning his tires up more. Granted, he's catching Stephen Thomas. There's no doubt about that. He is catching him. But if we're sitting here looking at from this standpoint of what I'm seeing, about 4 seconds back. So yeah, he's on sim mode trying to catch him, but when he gets there, what's he gonna do? Because hopefully his stuff ain't gonna be wore out, but from what it's looking like, it's gonna be wore out.
Right now, we're watching a battle between him and Adam Newton in the 82 machine. A pretty good drive for Adam there in the 82 machine. He is in the spot that he started in the 4th position. He keeps in that spot. He'll come out with a top 5 here at Homestead. But Keith has his hands full with Adam right now. A little bit of a wiggle out of the 82 machine off of 2. Now down the backstretch, the 82s kind of keep the 29 at bay. There's some other drivers behind these two. You're looking at the likes of Justin Lumpkin there in the 18, still in the top 10. Adam Newbert in the 4, still in the top 10 and 7th. Robbie Richards in 8th. And we have some big movers still inside the top 10 as well there, Jacob. We have Cody Knott right there in the 26, up 21 spots from the drop of the green flag. Also, Trey Pitts is right there rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, and Derek Kilgore started 28th, and he's all the way up to 11th. So, excuse me, now he's up, yeah, now he's down to 12th. But still, you know, a lot of these guys that were in the back are still able to move up from their starting positions. So that's always big, you know, to see guys having those biggest movers of the race and see, you know, where they're going to be able to stack up. But coming to the line right here, Stephen Thomas ran a 35 flat. We're going to see what Keith Bradley's going to be able to run right here. Looks like he ran a 34.2, 0.8 of a second. He's got it down to almost 3 seconds, almost 2 seconds, to be honest with you, Will. Right there at that threshold, almost 2 seconds. Joey Doucette has not pitted yet. So Stephen Thomas has got around Christopher Blanchard. Now Keith Bradley's got to be able to get around Christopher Blanchard. He's catching Stephen Thomas, but like I said, when he gets there, is he going to have enough tire to be able to do anything with it?
Yeah, you're starting to see Chris Blanchard in the 9 now starting to suffer the consequences of not heading down pit road. The 9 machine is just sinking down the grid. Still going to be a good run for the 9, depending on where he shakes out when he does eventually head down pit road. If he does here in the late stages of this race, could possibly scrape out a top 10 for that 9 team. But right now, Joey Doucette still leading the way with 9 laps to go. I want to see how far he can push that 16 here tonight, Jacob, because you got to think he is running on fumes in that 16.
Yeah, he's running on fumes, and like I said earlier, he's just waiting on that caution. He's trying to see if the caution may come out, and if it does, then he's going to look like a genius if the caution comes out, because every single one of these guys, Stephen Thomas, Keith Bradley, Adam Newton, Christopher Blanchard, Justin Lumpkin, Adam Newbert, the whole lead, I mean, everybody that's on the lead lap, they're ducking in and they're going in and getting tires because they're going to be crazy if they tried to stay out. So Joey Doucette's praying for that caution, but it hasn't come out yet. But eventually, I mean, this is the gamble that you take. These are gambles that these drivers take, and this is the situation. I mean, this is the playoff system. This is the deal of people taking gambles, trying to make it into the next round, trying to get a win. So, I mean, I like the call. But, I mean, especially with him way up high in the points. We talked about it earlier. Him and Adam Newbert battling it out for the regular season points lead. So I like this move right here by Joey Doucette. But, I mean, this is the gambles that you take.
Exactly, here with 7 laps to go here. Make it 6-7 right now as Stephen Thomas battling out with Keith Bradley. See Joey Doucette still at the top of the grid. Stephen Thomas right there in the 23. This, I would have to assume here, Jacob, this would be a battle for the lead here. As now the 29 is going to go to the inside off of 2 here and go side by side here down the backstretch. The 29 with a huge move to throw that tail in front of Stephen Thomas. That's now our 2nd place position. Right now, our leader is still Joey Doucette.
Yeah, Joey Doucette's still rolling out there. And I'm watching him, you know, I'm watching his lap times. He's down to a 36 flat, Will. Stephen Thomas and Keith Bradley sitting there running right around 35 flat, 35 fives that last lap. But, wow, Keith Bradley caught Stephen Thomas in a hurry. He's got that truck hooked up and has not really lost any speed. So I'm not real sure exactly what happened to Stephen Thomas. I thought he was going to be able to save enough of a tire and have something for Keith Bradley when he got there. But, I mean, from what it looks like, Keith Bradley just had the right move and the right adjustment to be able to just drive away with it. But, well, Joey Doucette, he still hasn't pitted, so maybe there's something we don't know about that. Maybe he saved some fuel. Maybe he saved a little bit of fuel or something. He's going to try to stretch it. But I still think he's waiting on that caution, Will.
Yeah, it looks like here is going to cross the line here, make it 4 laps to go. When he was battling out there with Dana Shepard, the 45, who was a lap truck, you saw his speed go way down, way down. And I think it's because he had to go to the high side of the racetrack. You watch now the 16 goes into 1 and 2, prefers that low side. So maybe he's conserving on the low side of the racetrack. When he got topside there with the 45, he lost a lot of speed. That interval between him and Keith Bradley went down to about 3 seconds. Now the 16 with 4 laps to go, you would have to assume with 13-second lead, he would have it wrapped up. The last time he hit it down pit road was lap 94. If the 16 can do it, he will run out of gas doing donuts.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter when you run out of gas. If you're able to make it that far, Will, as long as you make it to the checkered flag, you could run out of gas going into turn 1 after you get the checkered flag.
Right.
It doesn't matter. As long as you're able to get it to the checkered flag, that is all that matters. So I'm sitting here watching 36.9.
He might get it. He might get it.
Wow. I mean, I honestly thought he was just waiting on the caution, but I think he fooled every single one of us, Will. I think he is trying to stretch it out as much as he can on the field. So he might, like you said, he might be able to pull this off.
And now he's putting lap cars in between everybody. He'll let the Huck Whittington there in the 00. If he wants to go by, he'll let him go by. Right now, Joey just said, I think, is just focused on that last lap, that white flag call across the radio. Because with 1 lap to go, Jacob, you can squeeze whatever's left out of that truck to make sure you get across the finish line here. But he'll come around the backstretch right now, and he'll be wanting that green flag now down into, or the white flag down into 3 and 4. Keith Bradley's trying to eat up that gap, cut it down to less than 10 seconds, but with 2 laps to go, this might be Joey Doucette's race. He'll come off of 4, take the white flag here in the Pultz Poppers 200.
Yeah, and right now is when you don't want to run out of gas right now, Wills. I'm sitting here watching it right now, and oh my gosh, he's out of gas. I think he's out of gas, Will.
The 16 slowing up into 1 and 2. Joey Doucette might be out of fuel. He is out of fuel. Joey Doucette is out of gas on the exit of 2 here on the final lap of the Pultz Poppers 200. There goes Keith Bradley by the 16. Keith Bradley, the animal, now has the race lead into 3 and 4. Keith Bradley will go back-to-back here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, sweeps the stages, wins race number 2 of round number 1. He is the champion of the Pultz Poppers 200, the animal.
Wow, I mean, big turn of events right there at the end of that last lap, where Joey's still trying to get past the rest, just trying to get going. Maybe he can get a hold of Keith Bradley and see if he can give him a push, at least try to get him to the line. But like I said earlier, Will, this is the chances that you take. These are the gambles that you take in this playoff format. But Joey Doucette, you know, was able to make this gamble right here, and he tried it. So he had enough of a cushion, and he had enough of what he could try to get as far as the points to be able to attempt this gamble. And like I said, hats off to him, you know, for making that gamble and trying it. But it just wasn't his race. He just come up just a lap short.
Yeah, as the 16 trying to hobble his way to the start-finish line here, just trying to roll it. Surprised nobody gave him a push there, Jacob, when everybody went by at the end of the race. But, of course, we just saw the 29 of Keith Bradley. Here they come. They're going to push him across the start-finish line here. Chris Cinnamon there in the 3. Dennis Shepard there in the 45. And we'll see, we'll go over that top 10 here. Actually, the official results here as we wait for the 16 to cross the start-finish line. Our winner here tonight is going to be Keith Bradley there in the 29 machine. Second place here tonight is going to be the 82 of Adam Newton. Third place here tonight is going to be Stephen Thomas in the 23. Fourth is going to be the 18 of Justin Lumpkin. Fifth is going to be the 48 of Robbie Richards. Sixth is going to be the Adam Newbert in the 4 here in the 6th spot. 7th spot is going to go to Trey Pitts in the 21, up 21 spots from the drop of the green flag. 8th is going to go to our biggest mover of the race, Mr. Cody Knott in the 26, up 22 spots from the drop of the green flag. He's going to finish 8th here tonight. 9th is going to be Derek Kilgore in the 11th, and rounding out our top 10 is going to be Chris Blanchard in the 9.
Yeah, and with coming in 11th right here, Chris Cinnamon. Then you got Dana Shepard is going to be in 12th. Huck Wigington going to be in 13th. Joey Doucette, the guy that almost won this thing, was a lap short, going to come home in 14th. Brandon Bullock going to be in 15th. Ashley Dodson in 16th. Dane Hagen, with that earlier incident that he had, right there at the start where he missed that shift and got himself in the situation that he was in, going to be in 17th. And then the rest of these guys, 2 laps down or more. Taylor Peacock, one of those guys as well. I'm sitting there looking at it in 20th. One of the playoff drivers, one of the big time playoff drivers, needing a good run tonight and coming home in 20th, Will.
Look at some other names down that grid as well. Jacob Klinkhart, Zach Hartwick, Ed Osborne, all going to be multiple laps down there, rounding out the 23rd position. Devin Payer in the 99 is going to finish 24th. Bunch of laps down there as well. Jose Luis Rivera, Kyle Hess, James Morris, and Raul Meza will have races they want to forget here tonight in the Pultz Poppers 200. But we'll step aside for our last break of the evening. We'll be right back for that post-race recap show and interview with our podium finishers. Welcome back, everybody, here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. We just saw the conclusion of the Pultz Poppers 200 here, where Keith Bradley in the 29 machine, the animal, gets his second win in a row. But that's not without the 16 of Joey Doucette running out of gas. Check up there on the last lap coming off of corner number 2. Boy, what a race we just witnessed here. I cannot wait to talk to those podium finishers.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys were doing real good. I mean, hats off to all of them. Hats off to all 3 of them: Stephen Thomas, Adam Newton, and our winner Keith Bradley. I mean, just hats off to all of them for being in the right place, the right time, and having a very, very clean race tonight.
Yeah, talking about Stephen Thomas in that 23 machine. I believe we're catching up with him on the radio. Stephen, you're going to come home third here tonight in the Pultz Poppers 200. I'd say that's a position you held down, I'd say, the entire night, top 3, top 5. Take us through this race here tonight. When did you know that the 29 was just a little bit faster than you? And when did you know that maybe a podium finish might be all that you can get?
I don't know. Honestly, I never really felt that way. Honestly, I mean, obviously, I always think I can win. But I knew obviously he had the short run. Like I had nothing for him on the short run. Even if I pushed it as hard as I wanted, I couldn't get by him. But and we didn't. I guess I knew it when the caution came out, and I knew we didn't have that long run for me to get by him. I took 2 tires the last green flag pit stop to try to get a big lead, and I didn't think taking 2 would change the truck as much as it did, man. And I could not drive that thing coming out of that pit stop. So I guess that's when I knew it.
Yeah, Steven actually ran an identical lap time to Keith, one of the fastest lap times of the entire race, a 33.92. You were pretty consistent in the top 3 up there. Did you like the old school format of tonight's race where you only had 2 on-track cautions where everybody sort of had to do that dirty work the hard way?
Oh yeah, I love green flag running. It's my forte. It helps me out the most, I feel like, in this series, especially if I think it's going green like I thought it would tonight, man. The whole third stage, I was just really taking it easy, and I had a big run on those guys before that the one caution that we had came out tonight. So yeah, man, I always root for the green flags and the long runs, no matter what track we're at.
And look at these playoffs so far. I believe you finished either in the top 5 or top 3 last week. You finished in the top 3 this week. Is this sort of what you want to do here? Just kind of keep it consistent, even if you don't win, you can just keep cruising through these stages.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. 2 podiums for the first 2 rounds is great. I'll take it. Like I said, I really wanted to win in Richmond, my home track, and then I felt like I had a fast truck tonight, so I obviously wanted to win. I'm a little disappointed with third, but I mean, I can't be too mad. Like you said, it's helping me a bunch in the playoffs. I got a bunch of stage points tonight and a bunch of end of the race points, so I'm obviously sitting comfortable going into the next round. I can relax next race. Yeah, but I mean, I always want to win. Everybody wants to win.
Yeah, the way you've been racing here these past couple weeks, I could see that 23 in that final 4. Those other drivers, the likes of the 29 of Keith Bradley, all those other guys. But here tonight, Steven, you finished third. You know the drill here with that podium finish. We'd love to give you drivers the opportunity to shout out anybody you had watching here tonight or any sponsor that made this race possible for you.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying happy birthday to Darren Lumpkin, a teammate of mine, Justin Lumpkin's father. He turned 64 today. He's watching, and his son wanted me to give him a shout out. So happy birthday to you, big dog. And I'll start with the team sponsors. I guess all my teammates: Justin Lumpkin, Adam Newbert. Um, Let's see, Newton worked with me a bunch tonight, Adam Newton, and our team leader or team owner, Jeff Sickles. Thanks for all you guys helping me out. Newton helped me out a bunch tonight. I wasn't sure exactly what line to run starting this race, and he told me it, and then I started really finding something. So, yeah, thanks to all the teammates every night. Millie's Landing, A's Lawn and Landscaping, Darren's Nail Gun, uh, Ladenko, First Pacific Funding, Roof Co., Family Handyman, my main sponsor, and Millie's Restaurant and Catering. And then I want to thank all the league sponsors: National 360 Racing Network, Triple M Pulling, Pultz Poppers, Hoopty's Garage, Blanchard's Towing, Butt Kicker Stogies, M1 Race Cars, and Warrior Wraps. And then thank you guys in the broadcast and everybody watching. Appreciate it, guys.
Of course, Steven. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight. You finished third here tonight. Cannot wait to see what you have in store next week. I'm sure we'll see that 23 in victory lane here soon. We appreciate it.
Sure hope so.
Yes, sir. That was Stephen Thomas, the driver of the 23 machine here tonight. But I believe, Jacob, you're catching up with our second place finisher, a name that we don't see up here very often. That's Mr. Adam Newton in that 82.
Yeah, Adam Newton coming home in the second place position, and man, you had a great drive all the way. I mean, basically all race started out real good, and and was able to finish good. So tell us about your race tonight, bud.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I was just telling Keith, and Steve earlier. I mean, it was a really fun race. If you had good track position and good guys to race around with that you could kind of trust. But yeah, otherwise, it was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, and it's real big, to be able to race against guys that you trust, which is awesome, to have. It makes for a great race. And going into next week, it's gonna be a cutoff race for the first round in these playoffs, and it's gonna be at Auto Club. Usually you don't see the trucks run a lot at Auto Club, so this is gonna be something kind of out there. I mean, granted, we run a lot here on iRacing for Auto Club. But what can you expect for next week as it being a cutoff race?
Patience. I love Auto Club. I've always liked the track. Patience and tire wear is going to win that race next week. Um, and I expect the regulars. I mean, this is my third race, I think, with the group. And what I've seen is a couple guys that are really smooth, and those guys are going to be up front.
Well, this being your third race with the group, I mean, you are definitely making a name for yourself for this league. So hats off to you for that. Last but not least, you got anybody you want to thank, or anybody that's made this possible, or anybody that's watching?
Yeah, swim team, Adam, Blake, Justin, Jeff, Steven. I thank them for letting me come on and run with them. Millie's Landing, A's Lawn and Landscaping, Darian's Nail and Gun Repair, Landco, First Pacific Funding, Roofco Group, the Spa Coolers, the Family Handyman, Millie's Restaurant and Catering, Millie's North, DSR Electric for sponsoring us this season. And want to give a shout out to Darian Lumpkin, Justin's dad. Happy birthday. And thank y'all for letting me be in here tonight.
Man, you deserved your spot to be able to do, to be here in this broadcast room. But congratulations on a second place run. And I'll be honest with you, everybody at home, this is probably not going to be the last time that you hear Adam Newton. Awesome drive, bud. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that was the second place driver. But Will, have you caught up with our winner?
Yep, I'm down in victory lane here, Jacob, with the animal. Now a back-to-back winner here in these playoff races. 29 Machine only had one win during the regular season, now has 2 wins when it matters the most. Keith, you sweep the stages here. You go blowing past the 16 of Joey Doucette as he ran out of gas off of 2. How did you get the job done here tonight?
Just execution on pit road, saving tires when it mattered and pushing when it mattered. The funny thing is I've struggled here every time we've came here. I'd show speed, win a couple stages, and then I'd just disappear. And it feels really good to actually put the whole race together for once at this place.
Yeah, you talk about disappearing. We saw you disappear there in stage 1. You separated from the entire field. I believe you won that stage by a couple of seconds there, if I'm not mistaken. Then we started to see there towards the end of stage 2, of course, you get the stage 2 victory. The green flag waves for that last bit of racing. You start to feel a bit of pressure there. Did you start to feel the likes of Joey Doucette and Stephen Thomas start to put it on you a little bit there towards the end?
Oh, for sure. Them guys are really fast, and if you don't save the correct amount of tire to where you can push towards the end when it really matters, they'll capitalize on it quicker than anything. And I was trying to save a little bit, but also stay faster than them and try to put a gap between us. But at that point, I figured, all right, I'm not going to pull away like I want. Let's just stay right where we're at. If anything, we'll lose the lead, but maybe we can make that ground back up in pit road. And it actually paid off without losing the lead, other than when I pitted.
Trying to watch the 16 of Joey Doucette, whether or not he could make it the entire way. Did you know over your radio with your team that the 16 was not going to make it all the way and that at some point he was going to run out of gas?
I kind of had a gut feeling, really, because when we went to green and after a few laps, I think it was 5 laps, my fuel calculator calculated back to where showed me where I needed to pit, and it was a couple laps short. It was like 3 laps short. So when we all pitted and he didn't, I figured at some point he was going to run out. So in the meantime, I figured why not push it, get back to Steven and them guys, so that way I can capitalize on it when he does run out. I really didn't think he would make it. I applaud him for trying. I mean, strategy is strategy, and sometimes you just got to hit the home run.
Yeah, Keith, you were laying down some of the fastest lap times there. The late stages of the race, usually the cars get away from the drivers there. Your truck was actually getting faster. We've seen it here the past couple weeks now, back-to-back victories, Keith. We talked about it last week here. You locked yourself into that next round. Now you shut the door again on another driver who's trying to get that Willy Wonka golden ticket. Is it the same strategy next week now that you have 2 wins to try to win all of these round 1 races?
It's really just playing the cards that are dealt to me. If I'm fast in qualifying, and then if it carries over to the race, I'll try to just play the cards that are dealt. If it works out to a win, it works out to a win. If it doesn't, I know, all right, I'm locked in, so it ain't that big of a deal. But it's definitely a momentum builder for sure.
And one thing I wanted to ask you here, Keith, before we let you go here, celebrate a back-to-back win. We talked about it during the broadcast. You were sort of overshadowed during the regular season. Of course, we had Joey Doucette with a very, very consistent regular season. Adam Newbert had about 4 or 5 wins during the regular season. You finished about 3rd or 4th in the final regular season standings. Did you come into these playoff races with, let's say, a little bit of a chip on your shoulder with 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and a win? Maybe your name wasn't being brought up enough?
I would say yeah. There was definitely a little bit of a chip there. A lot of the mistakes that were made during the regular season were because of me and or getting caught up in somebody else's accident. So I figured, all right, once when the playoffs come, I'll change the whole mindset. We'll get some momentum early, and I think we have found the jar of momentum. Momentum's a real thing. I know a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people are like, well, momentum's not that big. Momentum's huge, especially in racing, whether it's real life or sim racing. We just picked the right time to find the right momentum, and I'd say we're sneaking back up on them.
Oh yeah, you're definitely rock and rolling indeed. Keith Bradley, driver of the 29 machine here in Victory Lane. And Keith, before we let you go for the weekend, anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors that keep putting this 29 in Victory Lane?
Oh, for sure. Dan's Top Notch Heating and Cooling, Blanchard's Towing and Recovery, Grant Tactical Hydrographic Printing and Dipping, JH Designs, Upfront Motorsports, Over the Top Designs with John Hedrick. He kills it with the paints every week or whenever we need them. All my teammates at Upfront Motorsports, both Chris's and Taylor, and we had Ashley Dodgson in our Discord tonight, and they were all a big help on strategy calls and when to pit and how much fuel to save. So thank them guys. Thank all the league sponsors. I think it Pult Poppers, Warrior Wraps, Triple M Polling, you guys with Nazareth 360, everybody that tunes in every Friday night, and Brady for putting in a ton of hard work and making this thing go round.
Well, Keith, again, a huge congratulations from us here in the Nazareth 360 Racing Network broadcast booth. That's your second win in a row. You are cruising through these Triple M Pulling Truck Series playoffs. Congratulations, my man. Go celebrate. That's some more cash in your pocket. That's another win in the win column. Cannot wait to see you next Friday night.
Thank you guys, and a big shout out to all the mothers that either watch
Yes.
or allow us guys to take some time away on a Friday night and to do this sim racing stuff. A big happy Mother's Day to all the moms, whether drivers' moms or moms just watching. Thank you.
Perfectly said there, Keith. And we appreciate it, my man. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next Friday night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Sir. That was the driver of the 29 machine, the animal. Keith Bradley goes back to back here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, wins the Pultz Poppers 200. And Jacob, this being your first race on a Friday night with these drivers, what were your thoughts about tonight's race?
It was very, very clean. Something that you don't see a lot of, especially at Homestead. A lot of crazy driving can happen. You know, some people may look at it and go, "Well, this track's beat up and everything else," but they're just gonna try to drive it like Talladega or what. But I'm really, really impressed. I mean, I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks, and a very, very tight points gap right now from what I have seen. I mean, it looks like right now for the 16th spot in these points right now, Huck Whittington with 1,059, and then the guy right below him is Derek Kilgore, and he's got 1,055. So there's your cutoff limit right there going into auto clubs. So gonna be very, very interesting to see what happens. And Will, I'll be honest with you, bud. I mean, I appreciate you helping me join this group, and I can't wait to see what happens the next 8 weeks, bud.
Yeah, it's excellent having you up here in the broadcast booth. Definitely a blast here tonight. Just going to watch a replay of Keith Bradley, the 29 machine, burning it down here on the front stretch. And Jacob, you touched on it. We're going to Auto Club. And next week, a track that's not going to be retired off the NASCAR circuit doesn't mean we can't hit it with the trucks here one last time. But it was Keith Bradley, the animal, who wins here tonight in the Pultz Poppers 200 from South Beach, Homestead, Miami Speedway. For myself, William Tiller, my co-host of the evening, Mr. Jacob Reeves, and Adam Flieger, the man providing all the excellent pictures, sights, and sounds of tonight's broadcast here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, congratulations to Keith Bradley, and we'll see you on the West Coast next week, Auto Club Super Speedway here, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you then.